I'll move this over a little bit more so I can speak without the mask. Judge, that is true. When we started this case, I think you came in with a narrow approach of it, not to let the media try to guide your understanding of what was going on. Came with open mind, open eyes, wanting to see what was going on. And throughout the course of the trial, there were inconsistencies. I mean, you know, the state's saying it was with my client. I'm saying it was with their witnesses. I don't think we heard really anything from the witnesses that matched up with what, you know, we could conclude happened. And during that process, there were lots of things brought up and a lot of unnecessary biases added to their statements. As for disrespectful, you know, I felt the witnesses were disrespectful. I don't think any of the witnesses gave the respect they should have to the court and to the court officers. But that's part of what happens when you're in a trial. As for Ms. Payne, I think you heard her on the stand when asked, is there anything you could go back you would change? And she kind of dropped her head and said, you know what? I wouldn't even helped out at the beginning. I would not have listened to that state officer and tried to help out. And that's a shame that somebody who has good in their heart is no longer ever going to want to help anybody because, for lack of a better saying, no good deed goes unpunished. But that was a decision she made, and a decision that, you know, her upbringing, her standards, her values put her in that situation. And that decision is what got us here today. And that decision, according to the jury, is wrong. And just because it was a bad decision doesn't make her a bad person. It just makes her human. And we all are human. And she is young in age. And I believe the state's assessment is correct about what charges would merge with which ones. With malice murder, even though we didn't agree to disagree, I just did not hear elements that would do that. And maybe it's because I know Hannah from the 4 years we've been preparing for this. But to give her life without parole is to take a person who had good in her heart and tell her you'll never get a chance to get back out and get that good back. So we would respectfully request that the court look back at what all was said, look back at what all was done and was brought forth, and fully understand she never intended anything that day when she left from work to end up being there, to be in a struggle with Mr. Aaron, to be on the side of the road, to have to pull her gun to protect herself and the gun going off. There was never any intent to have that. It was an accident. And by the grace of God, when it did, she wasn't shot by it, and it was terrible and a tragedy that Mr. Aaron was. But, you know, she is a young person who has plenty of life ahead of her. We just hope that the court would use the discretion to allow her to have some of that life to continue. The charge number 5, the false imprisonment, it does say it could be run concurrent or it could be run consecutive, but it also says it can be probated. And the 5 years for the gun can be probated. And I think the court would hopefully look into what has been said today from both sides. Unfortunately, I was not able to speak with the jurors to see what their mindset was, to find out conclusively, was it dead set because the facts were overwhelming, or was it something they discussed? So I really can't go into details of what the jury said. I just can go in what I heard and wrote down, and I saw you making numerous notes. And I would hope the court would use those notes in coming to the decision to sentence her to life with parole and allow the other 2 Well, the one charge to be run concurrent, the other one has to be consecutive. Our hands are kind of tied on that. But understand that, you know, this was all done with good intentions. And I know they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but she's never seen that road. She's never seen what happens out there in car accidents and arguments and walking up on cars in Clayton County. And to sentence somebody to life without parole for being naive or trying to do something with the goodness of a heart, I think is a little bit harsher than what is necessary in this case. And I would just put it to the court to use the facts that they've heard and the direction that is given to them by the law and the compassion that we know is in your heart, and allow her to have parole and have an opportunity to show that it was just a bad decision. She's just human. Decisions can be changed by the way people handle adversity, which is what she's going to be dealing with here, and give her a chance to show that she does have good in her heart and that she does know certain things you can't do. And no matter if it feels right to do it, you just can't do it. And I don't think she'll ever step up to help again. And that's a tragedy in itself, not to the magnitude of losing a loved one. But if the court could take that in consideration of her age, the facts, the compassion, and sentence her to life with parole, and have the other charge run concurrent, and probate that gun charge, I think it would allow her time to reflect, to fully understand that things happen and it can be found to be wronged, but it's how you handle yourself through that adversity to get through it and come back and show the true you is what allows us to keep hope in our heart and allows us to keep going. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Tucker.